Walt. It was just sort of a natural subject. He had not only raised the quail, but geese and pheasants and peacocks and just all kinds of things. And he was also just funny. His relationship with his birds was just a little bit carefree. I mean, he really has a love for them, but if he sold one or if one died, it wasn't going to be the end of the world for him. We went out to see Walt and just sort of see what happens. I take my camera along and shoot a lot of reference photography. And if I have no sort of preconceived notion about what it's going to be, I just sort of let things happen, and there's always something that clicks, and that's the painting. Got my film developed in proof sheets, and just started looking at that, and then started composing the picture. And that part I do on the computer. It's just a great tool, design tool, because it gives me the opportunity to change things so quickly that I don't have to paint Walt and then maybe what would he look like if he was a quarter of an inch this way, or maybe if he was on a different color background. Rather than have to paint that and go back and redo it, I can just instantly look at that on the computer. And then after I get my composition designed on the computer, then I go back to actually drawing the full size, painting, and then transferring that to the canvas or the board, and then painting with the oil. Well, I think it's coming along fine. There's always usually a point in the paintings where it looks so terrible that it's really hard to continue on, but I either have passed that or haven't come to it yet. The only person that I really want to please is myself. If I don't like it, it doesn't matter how many other people like it. I'm glad that it's taken a while. I'm glad that it's done so that I can really get started on the next one. He'll be really impressed. I got a feeling he's not going to realize it's going to look as real as it does. I don't think he is probably real familiar with original art. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I should have done that with him.
Boy, I tell you what, Les said it looked like me. I thought maybe I'd end up looking like, Robert Redford or something, but it looks just like me.
Your Auto on Bramble Avenue in Madisonville is an independently owned automotive repair business. Since 1988, co-owner, Cincinnati native Tim Brockman, has spent countless hours here, building a very successful business with a very loyal clientele. At his home near Mount Lookout Square, Tim spends what's left of his spare time meticulously tuning up a second non-vehicular career.
Well, to be honest with you, working on guitars is not nearly as difficult as working on cars, which is kind of funny. I mean, actually people, obviously you're here because of the guitars. I mean, people just don't seem to care about the, automotive repair and what it takes and the years of accumulated information that you need to have. For me, fortunately, it's strictly been word of mouth. Same with the car. Never advertised. I guess I never felt like that was the course that I wanted to go down. I always like having there being layers of relationships. Somebody comes to me, okay, I know who referred them and there's a relationship that's there. I feel more comfortable like that instead of trying to just get somebody that I don't know off the street to, say, trust me, give me a chance. I'd rather somebody says, oh, no, I know what you can do, okay. The biggest difference would probably be the actual quality, or I should say intensity of figure, uniqueness of wood, things that factories or mass-produced instruments can't accomplish. The guitar can offer some advantages to a player, but to be honest, it's the player.
This was his first guitar, and it's as good a guitar as I think I've ever played. It's a completely reliable instrument. It doesn't fluctuate with the weather.
I took my mom out, I guess, one night to see Kenny. I mean, I've never seen her smile so big in her life, It's like, yeah. And I think that's probably the biggest payoff for me at this stage. It's not for the money. I hope to see a lot more people out playing my instruments in the future here. I never would have pictured that starting out I would have this level of success. You know, it was like, okay, yeah, this is a great dream in the back of your mind, but this is going to take years to get there, and it came a little quicker than I was expecting. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know what's going to happen 10 years from now, Robert. You know, I hope for the best. Clearly, if you look around the room, I think I'm going to be doing it 10 years from now.
And there you have the broccoli.
All right.
Inside New Soul Glassworks on East McMillan Street in Walnut Hills, a group of professional artists and students practice the fiery fine art of lamp working, glass blowing, glass fusing, and other scorching disciplines.
Everybody here, appreciates the chance that they've gotten, and the fact that they can rent the space or be involved in the space or be part of the community, whether it's a glass community, the art community, or an avant-garde community, that they like it. So they kind of see it as their chance to change.
John J. Schiff III, the founder of New Soul Glassworks, was working in his family's Cincinnati insurance business when suddenly and without warning, a bolt from above changed his life forever.
I was struck by lightning. It wasn't a big deal, but it didn't ground. So it made me kind of realize that I should go in a different direction and kind of be more true to myself and what I was trying to do, and use this talent as a glass artist because of something I stumbled into. It's kind of like a wake-up call that I found glass. Now I got woken up again and was just directed, I guess, to do this more as a full-time. But every time I do something, it expands bigger. So it really took on a good new meaning for not only me, but other people that come to the place and go, it's their chance for a new soul.
The audiences at her shows were always so rapt because Kate was so authentic and so real and so passionate. And I was always amazed at the way that she connected with individuals.
She just came as it was, even if she would say the things that other people were afraid to say. You know, she just was always in the moment, always trying to reach out to everybody in the room and make, even like from stage, she would make sure she made eye contact with everybody in the room, and she would focus in on the person that looked the saddest or the loneliest, and she had a way about her eyes could just pierce people, and people thought that she was singing directly to them, and she, definitely reveled in that and wanted to bring that every time she came to the stage.
It would be ironic that in her death she might receive more public acclaim than she did during her life. But the fact of the matter is, she touched thousands of lives and made them all better. And what can you do more than that to make somebody else's life better?
Who's Katie Ryder?
Mama.
And where does she live?
Heaven.
Where's heaven?
Up high.
Up high, yeah. Looking at her in a state where her eye is kind of bulging out because the tumor's behind it, pushing it out of place, and missing some teeth. That wasn't at its worst, but it certainly had progressed. She was so angry. Not angry, more just like dismayed and shocked that, like, what could we have been spared, And I mean, that's even before it got really bad. But yeah, watching her think that through is what, and reliving that is what makes me feel sad.
She wanted her life that played through her music to be impactful to others, to help others. her music was certainly not just self-serving, dig me kind of, I'm a performer music. Any singer-songwriter, I think, has messages of life, hope, whatever it happens to be that they want to present to people. Katie had songs of life and hope, not despair.
I'm not surprised that people connect so strongly with her story, with her music. I mean, I'm biased, obviously, but I've always thought that her work is so brilliant. Her, just speaking purely objectively, lyrically, musically, it's remarkable. And then you add that voice, and I'm totally unsurprised that people are falling in love with her music. And as they get to know Kate's story, as they get to hear about how amazing and shining and filled with life she was, she was the kind of person that many people long to be.
The museum has about 2,500 items. An item could be an 8x10 black and white picture, or it could be that 20-foot genie standing on the parking lot, so there's a great deal of range. You're going to see about 120 signs today.
The American Sign Museum on Essex Street in Walnut Hills is an eclectic, eye-catching, and upright amazing collection of advertising memorabilia. Founder and Cincinnati native Todd Swarmstead has spent his entire life in and around the sign business. His knowledge and passion for this mysteriously artful commercial art form is nationally recognized.
I have an interest in history. I've kind of got that obsession or that ism called the collector bug. So you put those three pieces together, having worked on a magazine, interest in history, and being a collector, you end up with a sign museum. When I got the idea, it was in the afternoon that night, that same afternoon, that night, I started calling some, I guess you might call mentors of mine, mostly in the sign industry. I think I called about 10 or 12. People I respected, some my age, mostly older, like mentors, and just asked them what they thought of the idea, and kind of got a resounding great. I really view the museum as kind of a microcosm history in three areas. It's a history of design in the U.S., it's a history of technology in the U.S., it's a history of commerce in the U.S. It's a fun place. It's bright, stuff's flashing, twirling, rotating, it's fun. I really like to visualize something and then make it real. That's what's been done here, although I've had a lot of help. I'm not going to at all try to say this was, all Todd.
There have been books that have been written by this. It's something about the synergy of a music orchestra and the parts and so forth that has to do with relationships and dealing with humans. The time, the beat, and the syncopation. There are a lot of surgeons I found out who are musicians.
Dr. Alvin Crawford is an internationally recognized orthopedic surgeon. He's a published author, extraordinary teacher, and has received dozens of prestigious awards. His home base is Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center. As he moves toward retirement next year, Dr. Crawford's spending more and more time tuning up his other passion. You have a very intense interest, along with medicine, in music. Let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me about how your music affects your medicine and maybe vice versa.
Music is extremely important in my life right now. I'm personally interested in achieving my goal. I never ever in my young life before college, in my first year of college, ever considered being in medicine. I wanted to be a musician since the 7th grade, and an instrumental musician. It was really interesting. In 7th grade, everyone had to, I went to a school where everybody had to participate. And so in 7th grade, you went to music. And so you start off in vocal music. I was there for one day, and the music teacher said, "Alvin, this is not going to work." And she sent me to the band director. And that's where my music started. But if you'd asked me in high school, I think in my high school graduation picture, I was president of my senior class. But I think it says underneath something, he'll be playing music someday. So maybe I'll achieve my ultimate goal, and that when my medical career is over, I'll be somewhere playing music someday.
How does your music and what's innately in you to be a musician, how does that translate into surgery, into the medical profession?
I've heard a lot of people talk about the metrics of it, the synchronization of moving parts. Musicians know, of course, there are only so many beats to the bar, regardless of what the type of configuration of the piece is. And so you have to make that adhere to the limits of the bar and that structure. And I've heard that, but it's usually from physicians, so I don't know whether they're just laying it on or what. The critical thinking, it's critical thinking. You've got to get this piece, you've got to make it work, and it has to fit. And I think in humans, you have to make it fit. So whether or not it's a surgical discipline, the medical discipline, or what, it's just putting the parts together.
So are you guys doctors?
He is.
Doctor of Love. No,
So he's a PhD.
Yeah.
And he is a master of all. Now you're talking about, now this is the man. If I would achieve my ultimate goal in life, it would be playing in the pit orchestra for either some opera or symphony or whatever. I could see that. And that's a challenge. I don't know whether I have enough time on this planet to do that, but if you ask me what my next goal would be, it would be to be a pit musician somewhere.